Minister John Key announcing the government's package. We're now going to the live press conference now. The Prime Minister is inside with this announcement, the government's package for the homeowners here in Christchurch.
Buildings, homes and infrastructure. They've also left residents in a state of stress and uncertainty. Since the first earthquake struck in September last year, the government has been working to provide certainty for residents about what their future holds. We recognise that many people have their life savings tied up in their homes. Each subsequent quake has made an already large and complex challenge more difficult as the extent and the amount of land damage has increased. To put the sheer size of these events into perspective, Treasury has estimated the combined cost of the first two Canterbury earthquakes at around $15 to $20 billion. This is enormous by international comparison. For example, Treasury estimates are about 8% of New Zealand's GDP, while damage from the Kobe earthquake in Japan was around about 2% of Japan's GDP. Hurricane Katrina was around about 1% of US GDP, and even the latest Japanese earthquake and resultant tsunami was estimated at about 3 to 5% of Japan's GDP. But the government remains fully committed to rebuilding Christchurch, and that commitment stands firm. We provided in Budget 2011 to do that through the $5.5 billion Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Fund. We've also set up SERA as a specialist agency to aid recovery and cut through red tape. In addition, nearly $250 million has been provided in business and employment support to help people through the immediate aftermath of the earthquakes. Over the past month, the government has balanced the need for residents to get information as soon as possible with making sure we get the right solution. A solution which is enduring, which allows the people of Canterbury to get on with their lives. The large aftershocks of June the 13th have again changed the picture for the people of Christchurch, and I know these ongoing quakes have added to the stress and frustration for residents. Today we are moving to provide people with an update of what we now know about the future of their land. Today's announcements represent the next step in the government's ongoing work to give residents accurate information as quickly as possible. We are able now to show residents some of the worst affected areas how badly damaged their land actually is. So Christchurch has been mapped into 4 zones: red, orange, green and white. What the information shows is that the land highlighted in red is unlikely to be able to be built for a considerable period of time. The total number of properties in the red area is around about 5,000. Homeowners in this zone face lengthy disruption that could go on for many, many years. That's why the government has been working with insurers to develop options for these property owners which will allow them to get on with planning their future. For people who owned property with insurance in the residential red zones on the 3rd of September 2010, there will be 2 options. The first is that the government makes an offer of purchase for the entire property at current rating value, less any built property insurance payments already made, and assumes all of the insurance claims other than the contents insurance. The second option is that the Crown makes an offer of purchase for the land only, and the homeowners can continue to deal with their own insurer about their homes. This means that insured homeowners in the red area will have a choice to make about their future, and they can start planning what they want to do from now. The current rating value will be used to assess the property value because this best reflects the value and the most up-to-date information available. Current rating valuations, which are what the council's rates are based on, date from 2007. So while it may be another 8 weeks before red zone homeowners receive specific details of this package, in the meantime they can start thinking about which option they would like to take. Homeowners would be wise to consult with their banks and insurers when thinking about which option they may take up. Homeowners will have 9 months to consider whether they want to accept one of the options when they are put to them. The government is committed to getting things right for the people in these worst affected areas, and we've been moving as quickly as we can to provide them with as much accurate information as possible. If residents wish to leave their damaged homes in the red zone, they should talk to their insurers about accessing any unused portion of their temporary accommodation allowances immediately. Properties in the orange area require further assessment following the February 22nd earthquake and the subsequent aftershocks of June the 13th. There are around 10,000 properties in the orange zone, and the scale of damage within this area is wide-ranging from moderate to severe. Decisions on these areas will become clearer over time. Unfortunately, we are not yet in a position to give these residents certainty, but we will continue to work towards that with detailed land assessments to better determine the status of the land in these areas. The maps also show that the vast majority of Greater Christchurch is marked in green. This means that damaged homes in these areas can be repaired and rebuilt without the need for further area-wide land assessment. Some of this land may be damaged but can be repaired on an individual basis as part of the normal insurance process. Within the large green area, there may be a small number of individual properties with severe land damage which presents more complex challenges. We will provide residents with more definitive information as soon as it's available. People in the green area should work with their insurance companies to begin the rebuilding process. The final area on the map is zoned white. This means that it has not been fully assessed yet after the June 13 aftershock caused further damage. Detailed mapping and assessment of this area is underway, and we will progressively announce the outcome of investigations into these areas over the coming weeks and months. Based on conservative assumptions, Treasury has estimated the net cost to the government if we purchase all of the around 5,000 properties currently in the residential red zone to be between $485 million and $635 million. The final costs are still to be determined. Factors that may alter the final cost include the level of take-up of the offer, government property valuations and proceeds from insurers. But we expect that these net costs will be met from the government's Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Fund, which was part of Budget 2011. I'd like to reiterate these announcements today form the next step in the government's ongoing commitment to getting things right for the people of Canterbury. I know that people want to know what their future holds, and they've been through so much and have shown such great resilience. I understand their frustration with the ongoing aftershocks. While we may not be able to answer every question residents have about their future today, I believe we have made significant progress towards helping those in the worst affected areas begin to plan their futures. We will continue working to provide updates as more information comes to hand over the coming weeks. Before I hand over to Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee, I'd like to briefly make special mention of the team at TradeMe. They downed tools in recent days to assist us in setting up a website, which is landcheck.org.nz, that residents can go to as of today to see which zone their property is in. So a big thank you to the team at TradeMe. I'd also like to acknowledge the team from New Zealand Post who have been assisting us, and of course the tireless team at Tonkin and Taylor who continue to work through the night to get information we need for the people of Greater Christchurch. So on that note, I'd like to pass over, if I can, to Jerry Brownlee, and then we'll be taking any questions that you might have.
Sorry, Jim. Well, I think that announcement will be greeted very warmly by many people who've been suffering for a long time, and you will have reported over that period of time on some of those circumstances. From today, they do have very clear options in those areas. What we are also confident about is that the boundaries that we have drawn between red, orange and green are robust, and that the ongoing assessment of green areas, which will see properties go either red or green, will be done in a timely fashion. I want to make particular mention of Waimakariri District, where they did have a plan in place post-September 4, and people have been very good in buying into that plan. It is because of the ongoing events, and we've had now over 28 over 5 on the Richter scale earthquakes in Canterbury, with a great deal of movement that some of you would have seen in the technical explanations given earlier, that we go back to those areas and assess, is it appropriate, will the proposals for the engineering works work for them. Those engineering works may work for other parts of Christchurch that are currently orange. It will take another few months to get to all of them, but they will be assessed progressively. And as the assessments come through, we will communicate those directly with not only the residents but also the public. Christchurch, I think, has a very good future ahead of it. The opportunities for people now to choose new places to reside, and the opportunity for people who already enjoy where they're living to get on with repairing them, in the most part, is very, very clear from today. For those other areas, that will become clearer progressively towards the end of September. With those comments, I'm sure the Prime Minister would be happy to take any questions that you might have, as am I.
Who choose perhaps the second option to deal with their insurer on the house, but to let the Crown take their land off their hands, how will that land be valued? Is that the RV?
Yeah, that's the RV on the RV for the land at the moment would be the purchase price from the Crown. And the reason people might choose to sell their land but negotiate another outcome with their insurer is because they have a replacement policy that would see them in a better position than the RV, and people should have that opportunity.
And what happens to those people who don't have insurance, who are in the zone, for example?
Well, that's something we're going to have to do some work on, but our initial information is that there are very few residential areas or residential properties that do not have insurance, and the reason for them not having that insurance will be many and varied, but we'll make arrangements further down the track. Our concern is for the people who have provided for their future from their side of it. We're helping them from our side of it to get a bit of clarity about that.
I mean, I think that one point that's worth making is that what a homeowner in the red zone is going to do today is they're going to go to the website and check out that they're in the red zone. The next thing they're going to do is a relatively simple calculation over the fullness of time, which is, do they want to accept the rateable value and accept that offer in totality from the government, or is it a better deal for them to take the rateable value of their land and then their insurance payout? But you see, of course, if they were in a position where they had relatively modest amount of damage to their home, then what would have happened if the government hadn't stepped up and taken the steps it had today is that they may have been paid out for 20% of their property, and their rateable value for their land may well have been left in a position where they have negative equity in the property. In other words, they owe the bank more money than they actually borrowed off them in the first place. They'd be in a hopeless position of being able to go and buy another property, and they would literally have been left high and dry through arguably no fault of their own. So that is the reason why the Crown is, here in a position where it's going to have to front up with the better part of $500 million, because we're essentially bailing out homeowners who find themselves in that very difficult position.